Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I have the privilege of serving as the Deputy Chief of Staff to Mayor Bowser. My name is Steve Walker. We are excited to see a room full of people who are excited to share their budget priorities with Mayor Bowser as we talk about the FY'25 budget. This is our second budget community citywide budget engagement forum, and we wanted to start by just kind of getting a flavor of who is in the room. So at your tables, your table captains gave you a QR code, and we're going to switch that system now, and we're just going to kind of do a little quick little ice-breaking exercise and share as a group. So James is going to switch, and there's a question we asked you as you entered to think of the team name. So let's see what we came up as team names for our tables. The next question we asked for is your favorite landmark.
Yes.
So what is your favorite landmark in Washington, D.C.? Some people say the Big Chair, the Frederick Douglass Memorial Bridge, and others. Our third question is, how many budget engagement forums have you attended? This is the 10th budget engagement forum. So let's see how many people have been to at least one. If today's your first, please enter 1 and all the way up to 10. And it looks like we have a glitch in our system, but I can hear from the team that the majority of the people are clicking that this is their 7th budget engagement forum.
Whoa.
So thank you for all of you here for the 7th time. We are excited to have you here today. In a second, we're going to hear from the mayor and other members of the administration. Then we're going to turn to you to tell us about your budget priorities, which you would do as a table. So we're looking forward to those conversations that you're going to have. And at this point, I'm really, really excited to welcome the mayor of the District of Columbia, Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Thank you, Steve. And greetings, everybody. It is really wonderful to be here at Brooklyn Middle School. Let's make sure we give a big round of applause to Principal Richardson and the entire staff here at Brookland. It wasn't that long that we were here with the president. It actually wasn't even that long. It seems that we opened this beautiful new middle school in Ward 5. That is also a part of the playground, recreation center, tennis courts here at Turkey Thicket in the beautiful Brookland neighborhood. And I want to thank our entire team who is here, who's helped us to get to this point. When I became mayor, I made a commitment that we would go around the city and talk about the budget, talk to you about priorities, talk to you about what the city needs to do with this budget before we finish the budget and sent it to the council. My experience was, when I was a council member, was that the mayors would produce the budgets, send it to us, and then go out and talk to the community at the same time the council was talking to the community. So I just think it makes a lot more sense for us to hear your priorities now. And I also want you to hear from me what our outlook is, what I think we're facing, and what these budgets have to do. So I wanted to start first by saying that we all know and we all agree that our top priority is dealing with public safety in the district. And we have worked together over the last year. We've made some policy changes. We've made deployment changes. We have worked with our communities hand in hand, and we are beginning to see this past January compared to the January of a year ago is much different. We're starting the year off in a better place, and we hope that with continued pushing on resetting our policy environment, making sure we're attracting the best and brightest police officers, supporting those police officers, working on prevention and opportunity throughout our city to prevent crime and give our residents more opportunities. We'll continue to see these declines and the trend continue. So as of right now, we are 11% down in total violent crime across the city. Homicides are down 30%. Assault with a dangerous weapon, which means fewer gunshot victims, down 31%. And property crime down 12%. So when you hear us talking about keeping our eye and our foot on the gas when it comes to public safety, that's because we're seeing improvements, but we can't afford to let up. I also want to say a couple of things about our financial strength, because what you're going to hear us talk about a little bit today is how DC of today in the strength of our revenue growth and how it has slowed down compared to DC of even 5 or 7 years ago. And that's largely to do with post-pandemic changes in how people work. And some of the other pressures that we have involve how much things cost. And I don't have to tell you about that because we're all dealing with similar circumstances in our own households. But I do want to be clear that because of the careful way we are managing our city, we will weather any financial storm, and we will especially weather this one. So this year, we got our 27th clean audit in the district, which means we're managing our budgets the right way. It's also the 9th consecutive year, and it goes with along with my tenure, that we have our auditors haven't shown any significant weaknesses in how we do business, how we pay people, how we are managing and watching for fraud, and how our systems work together. We have 51 days cash on hand. We like that to be 60. We've had it 60 in the recent past, and what that allows us to do is run our government for 60 days if something happens, if something tough happens. So it's a good government practice to have it at 60 days, and we'll work towards that. We continue to have a robust pension and retiree health care. We don't have any retiree or pension liabilities, which means all of our police officers, firefighters, and teachers, we can pay them their retirement benefits. And I mention that because most jurisdictions can't say the same thing, but we can say that in DC. And finally, our bond ratings are strong. You've heard me say that we have a AAA bond rating, right? I'm proud that we've achieved that during my tenure, and we want to maintain it. And the reason we want to maintain it is because when we borrow capital dollars like that built this beautiful school, we can do it at a lower rate, which means we can do more across the 8 wards of the city. So those are some of the things that, while I'm going to talk to you about why we need to be cautious and why we need to be strategic in our spending. I told somebody recently, don't you talk about us like we are a poor cousin, because we are not. We are strong. And we're strong because of the people of the District of Columbia have made us strong, and all of the people that work for us, 37,000 people across DC government. Give them a big round of applause. They are doing an amazing job. So I also want to just leave you with some information about the downtown, because you're going to hear a lot of themes about what we talk about today, being how our investments in public schools and public safety have really led to the renaissance of Washington, D.C. over the past 20 years. And that's why people want to live here. That's why people stay here. That's why people retire here. And that's why businesses will locate here. And so we will be heavily invested in making sure our public schools remain a magnet for families to come to Washington and stay in Washington, but also why people feel safe going about their daily lives. We will also talk a lot more today about why investing in the downtown is important. And if there is any impact on the revenues coming into the city, it's largely because of post-pandemic work changes. Fewer people in the offices means those commercial office buildings may not be as valuable. And when those buildings aren't as valuable, they don't pay as much in taxes. When they don't pay as much in taxes, we don't have as much to invest in schools, in housing, in infrastructure, and all of the things that are special to Washington. So that's what we're talking about today. We expect to see some slowdowns in some of those revenues, or they won't be growing as fast as we're used to. So that means we have to really be strategic in our investments. So what we're going to do today, as we've done for our last budgets, is the city administrator and the budget director will talk to you about our process, and then we're going to ask you to help us balance a budget. And it'll be a little bit different than last year because this year is a little bit different than last year. And so with that, I want to turn it over to Jenny Reed, who is, to the city administrator, Kevin Donahue, who is responsible for managing the city day to day. And he and his team in the budget office work with agency directors throughout the year to make sure we're implementing our budget and formulating the new one. So with that, please welcome Kevin Donahue.
Thank you, Mayor. So I will briefly provide a little context about process with our budget director. And so you see here the four-part process that we go under. Right now we're in preparation. It actually starts October 1st. Our fiscal year goes from October 1st till the end of September. It mimics the federal government, and we actually start preparing for the new year the moment we start this year. Right now we're in the most important really phase or sprint for our part of the process. So tomorrow the CFO will have revenue estimates. We have to balance our budget not just for 1 year, but for 4 years. And so we'll know what number we have to balance against. Then we have about a 2 or 3 week sprint to be able to balance the budget. That's why your feedback right now is timely and really critical. What we've done between October 1st and now is identify what it costs to be able to maintain the current level of service in government, adding nothing new, taking nothing away, looking at inflation and our obligations. We look at the revenue, and then we understand what kind of gap we have or what kind of surplus we have. And this 3 week sprint is about balancing the difference between what it takes to maintain what we do now and what our revenues say we're going to have next year and for the next 4 years. And so this year we have a gap. So this 3 week sprint will be identifying how we close that gap. And as I like to say, before we do anything new, we have to balance the budget. Then we can start to identify ways to unlock new spending. So that's the part of the process we're in now. The baton gets passed over to the council at around March 20th. Then the council will have about 2 months where they hold hearings, they do deliberations, and ultimately they have the final say over what's in the budget. Around late May, they vote on the budget. It becomes final. It goes to Congress for passive review. But effectively, the point in time between right now and when the council votes on the budget at the end of May is the time frame in which advocacy is very helpful while we have the baton. Then when we pass the baton to the council, advocacy is helpful for the legislative process. Then we really go through the period of execution and accountability, spending what we say we will, doing what we say we're going to do, and having the council, the public, hold us accountable for follow-through. So that's a bit about the process. Now, the other sets of context that I will give before I hand it over to Jenny Reed, if you go to the next slide, is what the pie chart looks like now. So this is what we spend in FY'24. It's about $20 billion is our budget. The largest share of that is health and human services. So it says human support services. It includes health care, Medicaid, homeless services, everything that you contain within health care, human services, behavioral support. It's $6.3 billion, or about 1/3 is the slice of the pie that it is. The next largest amount is this vaguely described enterprise financing and other, which I like to call the amount we probably can't touch. So it's paying debt on our bills, paying debt on our services and interest on our debt. It's making sure our retirement contributions are held up to date. And it's dedicated funding that we don't have a lot of flexibility to be able to adjust. The next largest part of the pie, about 20% or $4 billion, is the schools budget and the education cluster. Largely, this is the DCPS and charter school budgets. It also includes workforce development and workforce investment. Next you go, if you sort of skip down to I guess it's like the 7 o'clock hour, it's $2.6 billion or 13% for public works and government operations. For many municipal governments, this is almost their entire government, this and public safety. It's everything from trash collection, building maintenance, making sure we can hire people, procure contracts, carry out the basic functions of a municipal government. It actually totals to be a relatively small amount, 13%, because as a city, we are a city and a state, so we have both the obligations of a municipality and the obligations of a state government. Going up at just under 10%, 8.6%, is public safety. This is the police department, fire EMS, the 911 call center, services for victims of violent crimes, violence interruption services is about 8.6%. And then rounding out at 2.8% is economic development and regulation. This includes housing investments and the investments that we put in place to be able to make sure we are recruiting, attracting, and retaining businesses like those that invest in and locate downtown to be able to have a vibrant economy. So that's a little context about process, what the pie chart looks like now. You'll give us advocacy about what you think of this pie chart. And if you go to the next slide, I'm going to have Director Jenny Reed talk about some of the highlights about what we have in the budget.
Thank you, City Administrator, and good evening, everyone. My name is Jenny Reed, and I have the privilege of serving as the Mayor's Budget Director. So I'm going to spend a few minutes talking to you about some of the key investments that are in this year's budget. First, in the area of education, we have over $2 billion over 6 years to invest in school modernizations. Since Mayor Bowser took office in 2015, she has already modernized 45 schools across the city and funded another 218 improvements to HVACs, roofs, windows, and other things that the facilities need. This $2.1 billion will deliver another 35 full modernizations of schools across the city in the next 6 years. In the area of economic opportunity, as you heard the mayor talk about, the downtown is really critical. So the mayor has invested funding to incentivize changing offices into residential units. As we saw during the pandemic, those neighborhoods that had more of a balanced mix of residential and commercial fared better than areas like the downtown that were heavily commercial facilities. In the areas of affordable housing, we continue to make historic investments in the Housing Production Trust Fund, and we're very close to achieving the mayor's goal of creating 12,000 new affordable units by 2025. Since Mayor Bowser has taken office, we've invested about $1.5 billion to produce and preserve affordable housing units all across the city. In the area of healthcare, one of my favorite investments that the mayor made in the budget in this fiscal year is just $900,000 to buy down $90 million of medical debt for 90,000 DC residents. Yes. This is a great example of a low-dollar investment that will have significant life-changing implications for our residents. In the areas of public safety, you heard the mayor talk about how this is a big focus of ours, not only right now, but also going forward. So we've been investing in resources to expand our capacity by supporting more civilianization efforts at the Metropolitan Police Department. This frees up officers who would otherwise be sort of behind the scenes, who can get out on the streets and help solve crimes. We've also launched a new paramedic school with our fire and EMS department that will help provide crucial training and job opportunities to residents in this very critical field. Lastly, in the area of transportation and the environment, more than $550 million has been invested to make our most dangerous corridors and intersections safer through streetscapes improvements, light hardening, and other things. And then we've continued to invest over $114 million in building bus lanes and bike lanes to make it easier for people to get around the city. If we jump to the next slide, I'll talk a little bit about why we are in the situation we're in and then hand it over to the city administrator to close us out. So as the mayor mentioned, our budget is going to look a little bit different this year. And that's because our economy has shifted as a result of the pandemic. We have continued telework, meaning people aren't coming into their offices, they're not coming downtown, they're not shopping, and as a result, we're seeing less revenue come in that area. We're also seeing the end of a historic amount of federal funding that has come to the city to support us through the COVID-19 pandemic. Through the American Rescue Plan alone, the district received over $2.3 billion in flexible funds to support a variety of programs and services. But unfortunately, those funds will run out at the end of this fiscal year. When you look at the forecast from the CFO, our revenues are only growing by about $50 million a year. And while that does seem like a lot, it's not a lot compared to how our expenses are growing. So if you look at the upcoming year, our expenditures are expected to grow by more than $900 million, and for some very important reasons. First and foremost, I'm sure you are all aware of the WMATA fiscal cliff and know that WMATA needs a huge infusion of dollars to avoid severe service reductions or significant fare increases. The other week, Mayor Bowser pledged $200 million of increased funding for Metro to do just that. Secondly, education is a top priority, and the mayor several weeks ago went out with an investment for schools that's going to add $341 million to both the public charter schools and our DC public schools. Lastly, as the mayor mentioned, everything costs more, just like for you all. Our electricity bills are higher, our fuel prices are higher, our contracts are higher, everything costs a little bit more. So we are going to have to make some tough choices in order to bring our expenditures more in line with our revenues. And to do that, we've developed some guiding principles. And I'll turn it back over to the city administrator to walk us through those principles before we turn it back to the Deputy Chief of Staff.
And I only have one slide here. So let me translate that in very practical terms. When Director Reed talks about this gap we have, that means when we first, in order to do new things, and I've been to engagement forums for 9 years now. I know you're here to advocate for new and for more, and I respect that. We have to first be able to bridge $900 million for 1 year and then show we can balance that for 4 years. So we can't rely on a one-year gimmick to be able to do it, because we have to show that we maintain that balance over 4 years. So we have these guiding principles that we use. One is to make sure we maintain the core services that are the foundation of any local government. When there's a fire, when there's a fire, people expect the fire trucks to come. People expect that trash will get picked up. Our roads will be repaved and be functional. Buildings will get permitted and be safe. So these are things that, as part of the social contract, we must do and maintain. We also look at, the second item is what investments have a direct impact on life and safety for DC residents. A direct impact on people's lives and on their, not just quality of life, but their life itself. The third item is making sure we look at maximizing resources for the pillars of what has been the city's recovery and sustenance over the past 20 years, which is education, public safety, and having a vibrant downtown that are the foundations for revenue that allow for us to be able to fund programs across all the clusters. The fourth item is looking at the equity-centered investments we've had. And really, since the advent of some of the federal aid in the pandemic, we started a lot of programs that are well-intentioned, often grounded in good research. We want to be able to look at what's the track record of evidence with data about the impact they're having. We have to make tough choices. And finally, we have to make sure we show that we can maintain fiscal stability so that we are balanced for all 4 years, and we're not coming back before you again next year because the mechanisms that we chose to use really only lasted 1 year. So we want to be able to reset spending in line with some of our long-term revenues. So those are some of the 5 guideposts that we have. And with that, I will turn it back over to Steve Walker and look forward to hearing your feedback.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. City Administrator. And now we're getting to the fun part. We are going to soon turn it over to you to help us think about FY'25 budget priorities. But to start, each of the deputy mayors and the assistant city administrator will talk about importance in their clusters. So first, we're going to hear from the deputy mayor for planning and economic development, Nina Albert.
Good evening, good evening. Well, I'm a Brookland resident, so I'm really glad we're able to host this event in Brookland. Please don't come and knock at my door after this. And I've been told that the only thing that should be hotter than this room tonight is my pitch. So we're going with that. So first of all, I just want to tell you a little bit about what economic development is. It is an investment in businesses because businesses are a major foundation of how we generate revenue for the city. So that, as Mayor Bowser said, we can redistribute that to the benefit of our communities and to our people. But economic development is also about providing housing, and we have a major housing program, and we have been a leader in DC across the region and across the country in promoting affordable housing and generating new affordable housing. And so that is a major part of what the Deputy Mayor's Office for Planning and Economic Development does. We also, I mentioned that we invest in businesses. We are investing in businesses large and small. So we support through grant programs of all sorts, support to great streets, main streets, small businesses, local businesses. And so all of that work is really about making sure that we have a diverse ecosystem. And then lastly, we give directly into communities and provide amenities to communities so that we can have thriving communities throughout the city. So for example, our Food Access Fund is about promoting, providing more restaurants, more grocery stores throughout the city. And we've been incredibly successful at that. And I was just really pleased to announce earlier that we have now funded more than 26 new food access locations throughout wards 5, 7, and 8 in the past year alone. But here's the number I want you to remember. So on this chart, you'll see that out of the $90, the current plan is to allocate $3 out of the 90 to planning and economic development. But the number you need to remember is that for every public dollar spent in economic development, $10 of private investment is matched. So we have a 1 to 10 leverage ratio. That to me is a great return on investment for the city, and why I think you should start thinking about maybe upping that $3 to maybe a modest 4, and if you're generous, 5, because we have produced more housing, support for local and large businesses, as well as direct amenities into community with a pretty modest budget. And I think that we've done well for the city and want to continue doing well. So thank you. So that's my pitch. Before I end, though, I do want to introduce a couple really important members of our team and the people that make it happen on the ground. So I have with me tonight Director Cozart, who's the Director of the Office of Planning. We have Director Rosemary Sugzel-Evans, who's the Acting Director of DSLBD, the Department of Small Local Business Development. And we also have Charles Lindsay, who's the Chief Administrative Officer for DHCD, the Department of Housing and Community Development. Thank you guys for being here tonight.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Albert. Next, we're going to hear from Paul Kine, the Deputy Mayor for Education.
Did you know that the per student funding in Washington, D.C. is top 3 in the country? Did you know that at Anacostia High School just over the river, we spend more than $30,000 per student to educate those wonderful young people? Did you know that this year we invested more than $100 million in our wonderful teachers to give them well-deserved raises coming out of the pandemic? And our starting teacher salary is now top in the country? And did you know that our public education budget overall has more than doubled in the past decade? Well, nearly doubled in the past decade. So we are making strong investments. And did you know that with those strong investments, we continue to deliver incredible results? DCPS is still the fastest improving public school system in the country, even after the pandemic. Our public charter schools and our DCPS schools have driven up graduation rates by 14 points over the past 10 years. 14 points. That is unprecedented. So yes, I am here to tell you that we are making good use of your money as we educate our students. But this year, we cannot have a conversation simply about adding money. We have got to do more with what we already have. We cannot be talking about having a more expensive system this year. We have to talk about having a much more effective and efficient system. So, while we continue to do the direct investment in our schools and our teachers, I have 3 ideas for you to consider as you play your game for ways to get there. The first one is shared school programming. Everyone in this room wants for their students wonderful courses: AP, IB, CTE, dual enrollment. An expensive system would have us providing every single one of those courses for every single one of our students individually at each school. A much more effective and efficient system would have centralized courses accessible to every student in the city. And that's why this year we expanded our world-class Advanced Technical Center, providing cybersecurity training and nurse training for 200 kids from 15 different schools. And there is so much more to do. My second idea is neighborhoods. The backbone of our public school system is our neighborhood schools. Neighborhoods have got to be strong and healthy for our neighborhood schools to thrive. So an expensive system would have us pouring a lot of money into our neighborhood schools, but not ensuring our neighborhoods are healthy. Or putting a lot of money into neighborhoods, but not coordinating that money effectively. And so that is why this year, every one of the government officials you see here has worked hard to coordinate our investments in neighborhoods to make them safer and stronger. My third idea is one that I have forgotten.
I'll take 5 of your dollars.
My third idea is what? Jobs. I also oversee, on behalf of the mayor, our workforce training system. And we believe that high-paid, career track jobs are vital for our recovery, vital for our families. And an expensive education and training system would be one in which we're putting young people and adults on a track for bad jobs or the wrong jobs or, frankly, no jobs at all. Whereas an effective and efficient education and training system would have us training only for good jobs and for immediate hiring. And that's why this year we've invested so much across our schools in career and technical education, and in our workforce system, we are putting an expanded DC Infrastructure Academy into the historic Spingarn High School, training residents for jobs in the fastest growing economy in the country. So, I really want you to consider as you play your game how we have to do more with what we have. Hold education harmless, or nudge us up a little bit. And as you have your discussions, I want you to think, please, shared school programming, neighborhoods, and jobs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. And I know we have members of the education cluster in the room, including Dr. Christina Grant, State Superintendent of Education. Next, we're going to hear from the Health and Human Services Cluster, Kiana Creighton, Chief of Staff to the Deputy Mayor for Health and Human Services.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kiana, as Deputy Chief of Staff Walker just mentioned. But before I get started, I actually would like a little participation. So by show of hands, how many of you have been to a doctor in the past year? Great. By a show of hands, how many of you have health insurance? Great. So as you also might notice, if you look on the sheet in front of you, the most amount of money that we have in our budget goes to Health and Human Services, and for all the reasons that you all just raised your hands, that's a really good reason why. I should also add that DC is the second highest, we're not a state yet, but second highest jurisdiction in the country with health coverage, and so that's really important as well. But one of the things that I think is important to talk about is that health is actually in every single thing that we do. So if you're not feeling healthy, you're not going to be able to participate in different things that are important in your life. We're hearing a lot about education, which is very important, but if you don't have enough food, you're not going to be able to concentrate at school. With our housing, if your housing is not in the right condition, you're going to have higher rates of asthma. If our infrastructure and our roads aren't in good condition, you're also not going to be able to go see family and friends, go to the doctor's office, go to the grocery store. And so I think it's really important to recognize that even though we have all these other categories, that health and human services is really actually ingrained into every single thing that we do. I also want to make sure to acknowledge some of our agency directors, Director Hines for DACL, Aging and Community Living is here. Director Matthews for Child and Family Services is also in the room behind me. Dr. Bazran, our director for the Department of Behavioral Health, is here. And I believe I also saw Director Reese for Disability Services, who is here. And so some of the highlights that are on this screen relate not just to us, but also our neighbors. So whether you're having a mental health concern and you need to get services, we've expanded our services throughout the pandemic. Hopefully those services are here to stay. If you have a concern, I know that a lot of people have made reactions about people who might be experiencing homelessness. Part of our budget also goes to that, or folks who don't have health insurance and need access to insurance. So I would encourage you all, when you're thinking about where to allocate your money, just remember that we like to say health is in all policies, or health is in everything that we do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kiana. We're here in Ward 5, and I know that the Ward 5 council member, Zachary Parker, is here. So if you'd like to come and give some quick greetings to everyone.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. It is a packed room, and I'm glad to see so many neighbors here to advocate for our budget. Just today, I sent over recommendations to the mayor for ways we can allocate our budget equitably to invest in Ward 5 deeply and to ensure that we continue to weather this storm that we're in, literally and figuratively. One thing I would just leave you with tonight is the district's financial pressures are temporary, and many of the investments that we'll make today will last for many years. And so I want you to think over the long term, how can we invest and make sure our money goes the furthest? For me, that means investing in our young people and our seniors, making sure we create what I call healthy communities where we all have a shared quality of living, regardless of your background. So I will leave you with that. I want to continue to thank the mayor for her partnership. I trust that she will continue to fight alongside me for Ward 5, and that we can make historic investments in this year's budget despite financial pressures. So thank you.
Thank you very much, council member. We're now going to go to Public Safety and Justice, and we're going to hear from the Deputy Mayor for Public Safety, LindsayAIA.
Hey everybody, so I am LindsayAIA. I'm the Deputy Mayor for Public Safety and Justice. Deeply privileged to stand here on behalf of the more than 10,000 employees that make up the Public Safety and Justice cluster. And so since I'm standing here on behalf of them, I'm going to ask if you are in the Public Safety and Justice cluster, and I say, yes, we have directors here, but all of us stand on behalf of the employees and partners. I'm looking at safe passage workers. I know we have VIs. Would you stand so that people can see you? Because, oh, Chief, Public Safety? Yeah. Yeah, so when you look around the room, what you're seeing is a lot of different people who represent the wide range of what it looks like to do public safety in our city. And so one of the things that you heard the city administrator say at the end is when times are tight, you have to focus on your principles, right? And so one of the things I think Deputy Mayor Kine will like this because I can be a little nerdy. I like to look up definitions, right? And so what is a principle? And so it's a fundamental truth or proposition that serves as the foundation for a system or of belief or behavior or for a chain of reasoning. And so the reason I bring that up is because I believe there's nothing more foundational than our safety, right? There's so many different things that people are asking you to invest in, and we're one government, right? Like, so when you invest in health and human services and education, like, I want you to invest in all of those things. But this year, I'm really asking us for you to think about what it means for us to be a safe city, right? Like, it's a foundation. And so I'm asking you to invest in our foundation. When you invest in public safety, you're investing in safe passage, which is helping to get our kids to school. Because as the mayor said, we still believe that the safest place for our kids is in school. So when you invest there, it's all of our community partners who are helping us to do that. When you invest in public safety, you're investing in your neighbors. Yesterday, I use an example. 29 of our neighbors were displaced because of a fire. And so when they called 911, when you invest in public safety, you invest in them being able to call 911 and have someone pick up. And 1.8 million times last year, our neighbors, residents, and visitors did that. You invest in fire and EMS, who showed up, right? You invest in MPD, who was there to support. You invest in Homeland Security and Emergency Management, who spent the evening working with our partners to make sure that those 29 residents who were having probably one of their worst days were safe, were in housing, were taken care of for the night, and we'll stick with them to make sure that continues to happen. When you invest in public safety, you invest in Director Carey, because we believe in rehabilitation. We believe in being a second, third, and sometimes fourth chance city, right? And making sure that all of our residents across the spectrum have a chance to thrive, right? When you invest in public safety, you do invest in the Department of Corrections, right? And making sure that we're taking care of people who, yes, nobody is the sum total of their worst decision. We don't believe that in their city. We believe in accountability, but we also believe in being fair and constitutional and just and taking care of people in the right way. So when you invest in public safety, you're investing in all of that as a foundation that all the rest of it is built on. And so, you know, you see, we usually get $9. We're 1.7 billion, just tiny. But this year, in my faith tradition, it says you have not because you ask not. So I don't usually do this, but I'm going to ask specifically, like, investing this year in public safety is a long-term investment, so I'm asking for $15, okay? That's what I'm doing. I'm getting specific with you. So thank you so much. Like, when you invest in public safety, you really are investing in everyone in here. So take a little bit. I'm sure that Deputy Mayor, as he said, listen, we got to do more in education with a little less. That's what he said. So we'll take it over here in public safety. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. As the Deputy Mayor said, there are several directors from the public safety cluster here, including Quelly Sneed, the Acting Director of the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, Heather McGaffin, the Director of the Office of Unified Communications, Sam Abed, the Director of the Department of Youth Rehabilitation Services, Clint Osborne, the Interim Director of Homeland Security and Emergency Management Agency, Chief Donnelly, the Chief of Fire and EMS, Lamont Carey, the Director of the Mayor's Office of Returning Citizens Affairs, and Pamela A. Smith, the Chief of the Metropolitan Police Department. Additionally, Deputy Mayor Kine would also remind me that Drew Hubbard, the Executive Director of the Workforce Investment Council, is also here, as is the Director of the best park system in America, Feeny Freeman, the Director of the Parks and Park Recreation. We are now going to go to the Deputy Mayor for Operations and Infrastructure, Keith Anderson.
Good evening, everyone. Again, Keith Anderson, Deputy Mayor of Operations and Infrastructure, affectionately known as DMWA. Our job each and every day is to maintain and sustain the District of Columbia's infrastructure. And we do this by providing core services to each and every resident in all 8 wards on a daily basis through 8 agencies. And I'd like to recognize those 8 agencies right now, starting with the Department of the Department of Public Works, not you, Feeny. The Department of Energy and Environment, headed by Richard Jackson. The Department of Licensing and Consumer Protection, headed by Director Crow. The Department of Buildings, headed by Director Hanlon. I'm not sure if he's here tonight. the Department of Insurance, Securities, and Banking. There you go, Brian. Banking. Department of Motor Vehicles, Director Robinson. Department for Hired Vehicles, and the Department of Transportation. Now, ladies and gentlemen, these agencies provide core services each and every day to each and every resident. I know you heard a lot from my fellow deputy mayors, but my ask is simple. I need $7. I think it's 20, but I need $7 to maintain these core services that we provide each and every day to each and every one of you. So I want to ask a couple questions of the group, just so I can remind you why you need to invest in this agency. Show of hands. How many people like going to the DMV? Do you know the best trip to the DMV is the one that you don't have to take? Did somebody tell you that? And Director Robinson and his team have issued over 90% of DC residents real IDs. And you know what that means? That means you don't have to go back to the DMV to get a new one. We need to continue to make investments like this in operations and infrastructure. How many people in this room own or rent a home? All right. Do you know that property, either as a new build or renovated, has to get permits to the Department of Buildings and to make sure that that building is safe? And additionally, the Department of Insurance and Banking ensures that our renter insurance is low, our homeowners is low, and our car insurance stays low. This is the work that that's happening in our cluster. Show of hands, how many of us love snow? Not even 50-50. Well, hopefully we don't have to deal with that again. But who do you call when it snows? DPW. And in order to ensure that our streets are safe and clean for our youngsters to get to school, our employees to get to work, and our business to commence, we have to invest in this cluster. Last question. How many people Ubered here today? Or took a ride share or a scooter or something like that? Wendy? Okay. The Department for Hired Vehicles ensures that our companies that provide ride share and taxis in the District of Columbia are regulated, are safe, and are in compliance with all applicable laws for our residents. So, ladies and gentlemen, help me to serve you. Maintain our $7. And if you're really feeling good, increase it by 20%. That's all I have. Thank you and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Anderson. And now the Assistant City Administrator, Dr. Chris Rodriguez.
Good evening, everyone. It's hard to follow all those pitches, but I will say that Deputy Mayor Anderson, you have about $13 that you, between 20 and $7 and now 20%. So I'm going to make a pitch for you to send all that money our way in the Internal Services Cluster. What we do in our cluster is that we provide services to the agencies that provide you direct services. We are the backbone of DC government. We put the people, the processes, the technology, the procurement in place so that our agencies can run effectively and efficiently. How many of you thought that when you came in here tonight that it was a little hot? Doesn't it feel cooler now? The reason, yes, it does. It does. It feels cooler. It feels cooler because the Department of General Services, come on, work with me here. The Department of General Services has put the temperature down in here. So that's why you all feel very comfortable and you're looking forward to a great budget engagement forum. We serve 37,000 district government employees. Let's give them a round of applause. Our DC Human Resources Department is every day making sure that our employees are getting what they need to do their jobs effectively. Your kids our residents, getting the technology that they need in the classrooms. That's the job of the Office of the Chief Technology Officer. You saw earlier a slide up here that said that there's our $20 billion budget. Our Office of Contract and Procurement procures over $12 billion of that budget for vital services and contracts. Our Office of Risk Management helps ensure that we have the insurance necessary to protect ourselves from losses and to protect the city from losses. We also have our Office of Disability Rights, who's a great advocate for our residents who are most vulnerable. And so I want to just ask you, the Deputy Mayor has given me some leeway here with money. When you look at government operations and you look at infrastructure, I ask that you probably invest a little bit more in the backbone of DC government so that we can provide the services to the 86 agencies that fall under the mayor's authority to get them the resources that they need to serve you better. So thank you very much. Oh, actually, we have some directors here. I see Charles Hall, the head of human resources for the city. I see Nancy Hateman, who's the director of the Office of Contract and Procurement. I saw Jed Ross, who's the Office of Risk Management, the director there. Are there any other directors I didn't catch? There he is, Delano. Director Hunter, the director of the Department of General Services. He's the reason why you're feeling cool right now. So thank him on the way out. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Assistant City Administrator. We're now going to turn it over to you. So as your table captains have told you, we are now going to go to the $90 challenge. Your deputy mayors and assistant city administrators talked about in their pitches helping to preserve the dollars that they have. And I'm going to run through the categories as well as the allocation that's already there. So in public safety, in the current budget, there's $9 there. In education and workforce, it's $20. In government operations, $6. Housing and economic development, $3. Infrastructure and environment, $7. Health and human services, $32. And debt service and union agreements, $23. For this year, we changed it a little bit, so we need your help. As the city administrator and the budget director talked about, this year we're going to have to tighten our belt a little bit. So we need your help as tables coming up with adjustments that get us down to $90. So we need you to look at those categories and reduce by $10. Or you may have a great revenue generating idea and share that idea with us and tell us how much you think you can generate from that. There is one box that's not touchable, and that's why it is darked out, and that's our debt service and union agreements. So we're going to turn it over to you now. So table captains, please facilitate the conversations. We're going to circle back in about 25 minutes or so, and then we want to hear the great news that you have for your suggestions and ideas. So you're going to be joined by members of the administration who will be going around and helping make pitches so they can preserve their dollars. So thank you very much. We'll see you in about 25 minutes.
Make sure it's off.
All right, hopefully the individual conversations are over and we're now working as a group to come up with one consolidated summary. All right. We hope that you are summarizing now and coming to an agreement as a table on your budget priorities. Charles Lindsay is really working table 30. We see that table 24 is really coming to an agreement here. All right, table captains, please start to consolidate onto the summary sheet, and we're going to do report outs in a few minutes. All right, table captains, please continue to consolidate as a table. We're going to begin report outs in a few minutes. It seems like table 1 has reached consensus, led by Noah Gray. Chief Donnelly is at table 8 trying to convince them to add money to public safety. Chief Donnelly at table 8. Looks like table 29 has come to an agreement here. And they've also got an idea. Let's hear from table 29. All right, we're going to summarize, please, and we're going to report out in just a few minutes. So, table captains, please continue to summarize your discussions. All right, please continue to summarize your budget engagement forum $90 game challenge. Table captains, please consolidate to your table captain report form. Please identify a member of your team who might want to report out when we get to the report out section. We're going to begin in just a few minutes. All right, table captains, please continue to consolidate. Summarize on your table captain reporting sheet. Please identify a member of your table who will report out when we get to the report out section. Thank you very much. We're seeing lots of robust conversations, and I just want to remind you, please tell your family, friends, and colleagues they can continue to sharing budget priorities at budget.dc.gov or by calling 202-442-4755. Budget.dc.gov or 202-442-4755. Please continue to consolidate like they have done here at table number 10. And looks like they even got some ideas that they want to share. Table 11 is having a great conversation, including Ms. District of Columbia Turner. She wanted to make sure everyone heard that at Table 11 is Ms. District of Columbia Turner. They're having a great conversation. Welcome. So table captains, please make sure you're consolidated. Please write your table number on the summary form. Please write the summary, and then we're going to get to some good conversations. All right. We can see that there are some fantastic conversations happening. But we want to hear the great news. So if you can hear the sound of my voice, clap once. If you can hear the sound of my voice, clap twice. If you can hear the sound of my voice, clap 3 times. We're in Ward 5. If you can hear the sound of my voice, clap 4 times. And if you can hear the sound of my voice, clap 5 times. All right, let's hear from some of our tables. I know we've got some exciting, good news and good suggestions and ideas. So who has an idea? Let's see the excitement. Raise your sign. And the most excited table will be the one that I call on. Let's see. Table 3, I think, won. Table 3.
Well, look at that. Well, look at that. Table 3. So I'm at table 3 with some magnificent people. Yes, some of us have left. However, their voice will be heard when I speak. So for our thing, we agreed with our public safety to go up to, oh yeah, we took it down, so. $10 for public safety. Okay. For educational and workforce, we went to $20. For government operation, we, is it $4? We took away from there, I'm sorry. For housing and economic development, we took down to $1. For infrastructure and environment, we are at $7. For health and human services, everybody wanted it a little bit higher, so we went with $25. And of course, we can't take away from the union and the teachers and the people that work for the government, so we stayed with the 20, we stayed with the, with the health and human, we stayed, or the 23 stayed. But for our raising our revenue, we wanted to say, especially the lady that was sitting next to me, especially with the issue with Ward 8 not having access to grocery stores and not having access to a lot of things. Ward 8 is really affected by this. So even though we want to build money for downtown, we have to make sure that Ward 8 is being taken care of. And she was saying to build a toll for 11th Street. And for me, because I represent Parents Amplifying Voices of Education, We need more funding for public safety. We need it for safe passage, and we need it for more access for specialized programming.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We appreciate you over table 3. Let's see some more excitement. And I saw one last time. So we're going to go to table 21.
Hi, my name is Emily, and I will tell you a little bit about how our team wanted to allocate the budget. So starting with public safety, we wanted to bring that down $2 to $7, and that specifically we wanted to come out of the police budget and not the other budgets. I'm here as a DCPS parent, and so I think that $20 is the bare minimum that we need to keep for education, so we kept that exactly as it was. For the other ones, we did $5 for government operations, $5 for housing and economic development, $6 for infrastructure, and $24 for health and human services. And do we have time to describe our ideas for revenue? Okay, and I'm going to pass it to one of my table mates to talk about a great idea for raising revenue.
We had an idea of a vacancy tax where we would tax vacant housing to encourage landlords to lower rents, and for commercial uses to encourage mixed use.
Thank you very much, table 21. We got time for a couple more. Let's see. I see the chief waving at me. I see hands. I see lots and lots. God, I think I got to go with the chief. So let's go with table number 8. Table number 8. Derek.
Hello, everyone. So what we decided to do as a team, we upped public safety from 9 to 15. Education, we decided to take it down a little bit. I said it's a team effort, guys. Government operations, we took down. We took down 1 point from government operations just on the presentation that he had. But when he came to talk to us, he showed us how important it was. Housing and economic development. After the mayor came over and explained to us, we upped it from $3 to $10. Infrastructure and environmental, we took it down to $5. And health and human services, how crazy this sound, but it's a whole spiel in the back of why, from $32 to $21. It makes sense if I explain. Other than that, we couldn't do anything else, and that's how we came up with our $90.
Thank you very much. Table number 8. 2 more, so let's see who are the loudest. Who's got the best ideas that they want to share? Gosh, let's see. I'm trying to ignore table 1. So I am going to ignore them for now, and let's go to table 19, which was waving pretty hard.
Hello, my name is Catrice Fuller. I am a Ward 5 resident. Hey, Ward 5, don't do that. Don't do that, friend. Okay, I just came from there. You know, I work there. So this is what we came up with, and there's a method behind our madness before, you know, like the gentleman over there said, it's a group effort. So public safety we took down to 6. Education and workforce we kept it the same. Government operations took down to 4. Housing and economic development gave 4. Infrastructure and environment took down to 4. Health and Human Services, we had to take a little bit, didn't want to, but 28. And we did that because if we have whole people, stable-minded people who are not worried about their physiological and biological needs with their housing, they will produce more in our education, our workforce, and if we keep schools sane, then our kids will want to stay in the city and go into the workforce. In a way that we have to retain some revenue so that we can save money to get more revenue. We have all of these amazing universities in this city. Shout out to the city for free social work programs, as I'm a part of that. We can utilize our scholars to intern in our schools, in our health and human services, deal with our homeless population. Also to, like my baby, he's here. He just came from his Phelps interview. They could build houses. They could do all of those things. So use our scholars to save some money and keep people in the city to incentivize them to want to stay here to actually work in our workforce, which will bring us more money. And that's what we came up with.
Thank you very much. I just want to remind everyone you can continue sharing at budget.dc.gov. Our final table. I start one, but Ms. District of Columbia Turner is here at table number 11. Let's go to table 11.
Hello, my name is Sarah Buckley. I live in Southwest DC in Ward 6. I'm here to present Table 11's ideas. We started from a baseline of considering equal cuts across the board and then adjusting from there. And 3 of our highest priorities were public safety, education and workforce, and health and human services. So we took away, instead of a proportionate $2 from public safety, took away just 1. Part of the justification for that is the idea that while public safety is very important, that maybe structural or policy changes can accomplish the goals of those departments more than just dumping more money into it. Second, we took only $1 away from education and workforce because our schools and training for our students is extremely important. And even if dollar amounts were staying the same, we know that our schools are losing purchasing power and are going to be facing staff cuts, even if the budget stayed the same. We also think that education can give our young folks purpose and keep our young folks engaged in a way that can address some of our public safety issues. We took away $2 from government operations. We took away 50 cents from housing and economic development. We wanted to prioritize the affordable housing arm of things and less of the giveaways to developers arm of things. Took away 2 from infrastructure and environment and $350 from health and human services. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mayor Bowser? Mayor?
We were just remarking on that budget. Like, there was one remarkable thing. It was balanced with not a lot more new spending. So we're going to go, and I'm going to ask each table to say one thing that's important to them. Table 5, what's your one thing? Table 5, what's your one thing? What's your one thing, Table 5? DC statehood, what's your one thing? Table 8, what's your one thing?
Public safety!
Public safety, what's your one thing? Table 13. What's your one thing, 13?
Education.
Thank you. What's your number one thing? Table 24. What's your number one category? Table 15. What's your number one thing in the back? Health and Human Services? All right. So I want to thank you guys for another fantastic budget engagement forum. Give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.